You know, back in the day, you had an insurance claim, and the insurance adjuster, because I worked with Blue Cross Blue Shield for a while, and they would talk about how the insurance adjuster would go out and they'd catch people like playing softball or a
Oh
pickup
yeah,
football game or something like that. With a gamer, you ain't catching shit. What are
yeah.
we doing? We're playing World of Warcraft, League of Legends, Madden. It's like
Sitting at
so.
home.
Yeah, it's like, so what was he doing? What'd you catch him doing, man? He sat on his couch all day. I mean, he's really fucked up. He didn't leave the house for anything. You know what? He didn't even get up to take a shit. He pooped in a sock. So I mean, you need to pay him more because he's really, really disabled. And
Like
they're like, oh, okay.
he's in so much pain he can't even get his ass off the couch.
Yeah, he was yelling at his mom to make pop tarts and hot pockets and shit. And he didn't even have his mom. His mom's been dead for 10 years. So I mean, pay that motherfucker.
Back with a new show deep in the basement. Professionalism turned off, screw the ad placement. Skit comedy trolling, plate full of dough. People get offended, you don't get the show.
We're back with another show. I'm Jay Rock with Randy. What's up?
What's up, brother?
All right. So, hmm.
Hmm.
People are talking about being banned. People are talking about YouTube heroes, social justice warriors. Let's see, how can we do this? Is it good cops, bad cops? Is it a matter of not knowing your place in the world anymore? I don't know, man.
Hmm.
Because there's so many ways that I can come at this. I could come at this as a gamer where I can see a side where you're out there, you're making these comments and you're just having some fun, and people get offended over things that are silly. Like I get that. I mean, this is, you don't get the show. So people can get all offended and you're looking at someone, you're like, you're just making jokes. But here's the problem though. I also look at YouTube. I mean, this is our channel too, and I see people come out here and say things, and you just can't put up a shield and say it's just a joke all the time. This is where you got to have some brains, right, guys? Like, you can make a joke, but when you just write and you say whatever you want, racial slurs, homophobic slurs, sexist slurs, and they say, "Oh, it's a joke. Oh, I'm just kidding." Grow some feelings.
Gotcha, bitch.
No. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, 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 no. It doesn't always work like that. People need to have a brain. And if you don't have a brain, if you don't take a few seconds, like if you're making a joke, guess what? You actually have to think of a joke. That's the problem. Like you have to actually be able to think of a joke sometimes.
Oh shit, we lost the camera.
Oh no, look at that.
It's
They're
starting to
locking me
ban already. Jesus Christ!
they're locking me down. They took me out.
You said too much. Next subject. Next subject.
That's what happens. They're like they want to censor me, so they take it out my camera.
Goddamn Windows 10.
No, look, it's back.
Oh, there it goes. Oh.
They can't censor me. But look, no, seriously. Even if you're making a joke, you still gotta be able to think about your joke. If you're just going there and you're just spewing whatever you want into a comment section, you're saying all this stuff. Look, someone's got to come in there and clean some stuff up. If every time someone posts anything, someone's going in there and you're just attacking, that's not fun. Like, I've seen some people say, "Oh, this makes YouTube fun." No, when someone posts something that is stupid or funny and someone makes jokes and someone actually puts some time and some thought into it, then that could be funny. But when someone is, if someone has a movie and the first thing is, "Oh, look at this person, she's a B and this person's an N and this person's an S," and it's just attack, and it's just it just breaks down. Every time you see a black person, you're attacking the race. Every time you see a Hispanic person, every time you see a woman, all you see is just a million comments attacking this person. Really? This is your idea of a comedy show? No, 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 no. And that's the cheap excuse. And you can't just throw social justice warriors or hurt feels every time someone complains. Now, if someone does come out whenever a slight little joke comes, or you see like a Street Fighter thing where they're trying to cover up nipples, I understand that yes, you will have some people come out and go too far.
Mm-hmm.
But again, this is where you have to actually turn the brain on and separate the two. And I think that this is a problem with education here, whereas there's a difference between one side who the feels are a little too sensitive, and then the other side where someone is just not that smart and their idea of a joke is just instant racial slurs. I just want to get, before we even go into what the real topic here, which is this new YouTube Heroes where people are going crazy on it, I just want to just get, am I off base here, Randy, with what I'm saying?
I mean, like, the thing about it is, like, as us being content creators and things like that, like, the biggest thing, like, especially with me, with my poor defunct channel as it is and all that, which after my surgery I'll have tons of time, so I'll be able to do stuff on it. But it's one of those things is, as creators, we do our content however we do it and this and that. It's our own, whether it be a person does a review on something or they're looking at a point of view or something like that, it's that person's opinion. And when you sit there and you look at it, everybody has their own opinion on whatever it may be. You may agree with that person, you may not agree with that person. As what we were talking about earlier is, you're talking about World of Warcraft, where I'm talking about it like, hey, I really, really like this game. There could be the guy that can might a freaking War and Peace comment on World of Warcraft sucks, it's the most boring game I've played, and blah, 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 and on and on. It's his opinion of doing that. Now, the biggest thing with that is you will have kind of like you say, those social justice warriors, or you have those people that are the internet tough guys that'll just start, oh, this dude's black, he doesn't know what he's talking about because all black people don't know what they're talking about. That's a completely way off base, type of assumption to make on a person just based on their race, their color, whatever. It doesn't matter what color you are. You can fucking hold up a blue piece of paper with a little smiley face on it and just talk, and no one can ever know what you are, and it's going to bring the same message across. It shouldn't matter what you look like, who you are. What matters is what you think, your own opinion. And that's kind of like the thing that people now are kind of blowing up with this whole YouTube Heroes thing is YouTube has had a very, I want to say, rocky kind of following, where people will make their original content and have a 2-second clip of video of something and gets flagged for copyright because of the way that the algorithm is written to recognize certain things. Now it's getting to the point, and what's I think is the biggest thing that is upsetting the most people is they're going to have people, users at home, sign up to become basically people to go through and look at these videos and flag them, whether they're appropriate or not appropriate, which is something that a lot of people, and I've read a ton of articles on it, are saying like they shouldn't allow the community to do this. This should be a position at Google that gets paid to do this.
Yeah.
Like
and the problem is Google themselves are not even covering their jobs, because what happens is that because they have this algorithm, if they flag something and like a big thing, if you go look up anyone who has like a site or even a website and they use AdSense, there's been many reports, including lawsuits, class action lawsuits, where they'll get invalid click activity. Go look that up if you want to see some bullshit. And it'll be like, you try to contact Google and you'll get an auto response. Good luck trying to get a human.
Oh, yeah.
So in one of these reports, they talk about how, hey, this is just another way to get free help. It's just like when they do this a guide program for an MMO or something. Yeah, get the people to do your work for you for free because they know that people are just dying to, it's like having someone take the camera video and hand it over to the cops. Yeah, get the public to do the policing for you because, hey, why pay somebody when we're so willing to do the policing ourselves?
And that's the big thing is the if you remember when they really like first started putting like this algorithm to go, you had people like, one of the biggest ones that I know of that I follow is Angry Joe. He has his YouTube channel, The Angry Joe Show. He had so many of his videos that were flagged to be demonetized because of copyright infringement, which was all this algorithm. And he said, the biggest pain in the butt about this is you can file a, hey, I want you to review this on up to 3. But the problem is that if you get 3 marks that are saying like, no, they have the right to claim this copyright, they shut your channel down. So he's like, literally what he had to do is go to all these old videos that he had and 2 at a time, mark them for review. And then if one passed, he would mark the next one. If it kind of said like, nope, this can't be done. Like he had to go through 2 videos at a time. And he had something like 40 something videos that he had to go through. And he's like, this is bullshit that I'm going to have to spend months putting this stuff because these copyright claims have been filed against him. And he's like, that's the algorithm. Like he's always been one of those, like I create my content and blah, blah, blah. And he's like, he tries to work as much as he can with YouTube. And you could literally tell every time he has a rant about it, like it's just him fucking like looking at the camera, just, you done fucked it up. Like literally, like you can see this dude's about to fucking, if he could reach through the internet and strangle Google, he'd fucking do it. Because like, here's a dude that makes his living doing this shit. And he's trying, and he's following all their rules and doing all this shit. And then he still has to go through all these fucking hurdles, to get his content up on the web. And he's just like, dude, it should not be this fucking tough to do this shit. Like, it should be like the old days, like, hey, I put it up and all that. Now, supposedly the big thing is now with the monetization thing, they say that apparently it had been happening for months. But now they made a system where now you actually see it right away. And he was kind of like on the fence of like, if this shit really has been going on for months and there's people that they had no idea that they were getting no ad revenue from these videos, that's fucked up. At least now he's like, oh, at least now I can see somebody's claiming it. And I talked to you about it. Like he says, I saw a video that he was talking about how now there's like this studio out there called Studio 71 that's putting these claims in for monetization. And he started doing like research and he found that there's people that are doing completely original content without any music and no movie, like background movie stuff that anybody that can claim, and they're getting flagged for monetization from this studio.
Yeah, and that was one of the things in this YouTube Heroes that people were worried about. Now, just in case someone's not really up on exactly what YouTube Heroes is, it's a volunteer program where people in the community will basically be able to, in a sense, police YouTube channels for video and for comments. And now you have to obviously like be part of the community, and the higher up you are in the community, like if you do a lot of this flagging, you get unlocks and more things that you can do. So obviously if you do it a lot, then it's like anything else, you have more access. But the problem is that not only are they worried about someone who is just, I guess, the social justice warrior, someone who's offended really easily, that's usually going to be the one who's going to be clicking on it. Think of like back in the old days, like someone.
Rock. What if I'm a troll that decides to sign up for YouTube Heroes to flag a bunch of things?
And that's going to be my next point. They're worried about the other side. Like, what if you have someone that hates a certain YouTuber or a group of YouTubers? Because here's another thing that a lot of people might be surprised of, and maybe you won't be surprised of. Whenever there's a controversy about people who have YouTube channels, you'll usually have a couple of different perspectives. you'll have the who cares crowd, but you'll also have the well, what about X crowd? Because there'll be someone that says, hey, I like X. So who cares if Y gets shut down? Y sucks, or I've never heard about X. Why does Z get a lot of attention? I think Y should get a lot of attention. So now, in a sense, you could go to someone's page and say this person inappropriate. Now, let's be honest here. If you're thinking about going after someone who has millions of subscribers and just saying that this person is inappropriate, 9 times out of 10 it's not going to work because YouTube already knows this person's channel because they have millions of subscribers. But let's say that person only has a couple of 100,000, or maybe they're on the way up. That person is probably an easier target to go after because they're not that known yet. So I could see in that scenario where you could attack them. But for the most part, people are just more concerned with someone who is just easily offended, just going after people and just flagging all kinds of comments. And look, I can understand that if you just get someone who looks at any little comment that can be really benign and just go in there and want to flag it, and the next thing you know, when you it's kind of like that old I love when they had Sopranos on PAX where you could it made us Sopranos like a 10-minute episode because they were bleeping out like 90% of the content, and it's like, okay, I can understand if it gets that serious, but I have to play bad cop because I've been reading YouTube for years, and you have way too many people that are just terrible.
Yeah.
I mean, sorry, you can't, again, you can't just scream social justice warrior. You can't scream, First Amendment rights when you can just clearly read these people that are just terrible. And it's not just opinion. It's
Mhm.
not that simple. Some of you people just write just terrible stuff, and it really is just it's nothing there on a comment, and it's over and
Yeah.
over and over and over, and it's like it brings nothing to the conversation. It just spams all over YouTube.
Let
So
me.
it's really useless. And really, if you don't have enough brain power to think to yourself, man, why am I on YouTube all day just typing the N word
Mhm.
50 million times just because you happen to see something that you don't like on a YouTube page, then
Yeah.
yes, someone needs to clean at least that part up.
It's
Now,
it's
if you just say, I don't like this video or something, and someone says, oh, you're sexist because you said I didn't like this video and it just happened to have a lady in it, then yes, maybe
Mhm.
that person is oversensitive. But separate that from you typing actual racial slurs and you say, "Oh, it's okay for me to type racial slurs because freedom of speech." No, no.
No.
Separate those two, guys.
Yeah.
You need to learn the difference between A and B. And if you
It is.
can't, then you need a timeout and let the adults come over and take over the place for a
It
while.
is. It is like the old school World of Warcraft trade channel chat. If you remember that, like that was one of those. If it was a fucking moment from fucking Anchorman of like, well, that escalated quickly. It was fucking trade channel in World of Warcraft. Like that shit turned from like, hey, so I saw a puppy today to that dog is dead. You're a nigga. It was like, whoa, whoa,
Yeah.
what the hell did I just step into?
Yeah, I mean, look, and the thing is that a commentary here that I've noticed, because you see a lot of this popping up. Like recently, there was an article talking about uh, some of these sites trying to attach certain gamers to the alt right,
Mhm.
which is like these crazy right wing conspiracies and stuff like that. And it's funny because look, there's nothing wrong with having one side, political. I mean,
Mhm.
a lot of us, especially with Obsolete Gamer, we came from the Red Eye Land group, and there were people there conservative. There's people there liberal, and for the most part, you didn't even know. I mean, some of them you could kind of guess just because of things would slip out, but it's like you didn't care. Nowadays, it seems to be almost like the same way that you battle with a team or like a sports team, and it's like that's
Mhm.
why it's way more in your face than it was back in the day. Because back in the day, you just had whatever you believed in politically and it didn't matter. But now it's like a sports team where you wear it like how I'm wearing this Dolphin shirt, and then you want to fight about it like my team's better and your team sucks, and it's really stupid. That's why it's on these blogs. That's why you end up fighting about it on the internet the same way you fight about Xbox versus PlayStation. And that's why it's invaded even gaming. Because when I was in freaking League of Legends, I see people fighting about crooked Hillary and stupid Trump. I'm like, what does this have to do? Here's the thing about it, guys. Most of you dumb motherfuckers have no idea about neither of them. It's like, what do you know about Hillary? Nothing. Crooked Hillary. That's all you know. Why? Because it's a bumper sticker. And then what do you know about Trump? Nothing. I see the guy. I saw him on reality show. So you guys are repeating the shit and you don't know nothing. So, but guess what? The people who do know things in politics are playing all of us. It's the same way that they play us whenever they want to say that we're violent and we're going out and shoot something. Why? Because when one dumbass goes out and shoots somebody and they go back and they find Doom, Quake, Call of Duty, Battlefield, and then the mom goes or someone goes, well, I saw him playing those games and I think that's why he did it. Well, guess what? Then the news media uses us again. So, but then what happens is some kid somewhere is feeling upset about something and they read about some other person who says, hey, you know what? I think this kid is alt-right because maybe that kid does like Trump. So what if he does? I don't like Trump, but so what if I don't? But because he likes Trump and someone on the internet said something about him, guess what? His feelings got hurt. So he makes this long post about it saying, oh man, you know, now they're trying to lump all gamers. No, it's not. Your feelings got hurt because someone said your team sucks.
Yeah.
So you fell for the trap. Congratulations.
Yeah, it's one of those things like you look at shit in the past where it was like, all right, you know, everybody like had their opinion. You were sided with, you know, I'm a PlayStation or I'm an Xbox and all. And now it's gotten to the point where it's like everybody's just so damn sensitive over the things. And like I saw a video earlier today, which was very interesting. And it was I think it's, I want to say North Carolina, where the rioting and all that is going on over the gentleman that got shot.
Right.
And there was a guy, it was a black guy, standing on the front lines of where the line for the police were, and he was going up and hugging and thanking the cops for doing their job, like for helping to protect the people and blah blah blah. And you can hear in the video people behind him, protesters, are yelling at this dude who's trying to protest but peacefully, yelling at him like, oh, you're stupid, blah blah blah, calling him the N-word, calling him this and these, and he basically just turned around and said, hey, and he turned around and pointed at the cop. Was he the one that shot somebody? No. Was this guy the guy that shot this other guy? No. He's like, they're here to protect us. They're here because that's what they're getting, you know, they're here to protect us as people. We don't need to do any of this violence. We just need to protest, and we can stand here and we can yell, but that's what we need to do. And literally, like, to see in this video where the cop kind of like then tapped him on his shoulder and leaned in, and you could barely hear it, but you can hear the cop saying, I want to thank you for what you're doing right now, because that is what a true person should do. If you want to protest, you can protest, but you don't have to sit there and light a freaking building on fire and protest. You're not doing anything. You're just destroying something. People can have their own opinions on things, and they can say what they want to say and this and that. And people, I think, have gotten so hung up and so sensitive to things that it's literally like we're destroying ourselves from the inside out. And I mean, when it came to this like whole political thing, like what made me laugh in the whole thing, watching this all play out, that has literally come down to Hillary and Trump, that you have these people where you have to sit there and think about how bad were all the nominees for the Republican Party, that this guy that has no political experience whatsoever is the political frontrunner for their party, just based on what he stood in front of a podium and said to people. How bad is all the people that they say, like, these are the people that we're going to try run for this presidency. That's the thing that people should pay attention to. And that's the thing that's really, really scary when you sit there and you think about it. Here's a business guy who's had literally his only experience of doing stuff is he's a businessman, and he's had multiple businesses that have failed. And people are contemplating handing over our whole economy, our political system, and all that to him. Well, it's scary as shit.
Well, here's the thing that people don't want to think about, and people don't want to connect the dots, okay? So we're talking about how people get angry about things like this, about the YouTube heroes, right? And you look at the comments and people talk about social justice warriors. They talk about people being too sensitive, right? But here's the funny thing about this. I love reading comments in any of these articles. Go read like when they change a character. And I'm talking about not just Ghostbusters, not just any time they change a character. I mean, sometimes even when it's like, I was just reading some of the comments about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Now, it's not everybody. I'm not gonna lump everybody, but here's the thing: you gotta start looking at how some of these people act. Okay, you see people talk about wanting to tell like it is. They start to repeat some of the things that you hear. People talking about how you should be able to say what you want. You hear about people saying, oh, why are they taking away things that I grew up with? I don't like this change. This is the same thing you see a lot of older people want. They want things to be the way they used to be. And what a lot of people don't understand is, for a lot of other people, things weren't great the way they used to be. And change is happening no matter what. You know, it reminds me of, like, I knew a long time ago when I was, really young, there's this old guy who worked on cars, and he talked about how he didn't like those new computers that you would hook up to a car and it would do the diagnostics. He's like, I don't like that stuff. And this wasn't a guy who worked on like muscle cars or something like that. It'd be different. He was like one of those guys. He just fixed regular cars. So cars was already changing. It's not like I'm that old. So I'm like, well, this is technology. I mean, there was already computers, already cell phones, already all this stuff. Oh, he's like, no, it's a fad. I'm not doing that. It's like this guy just wanted to push away change, and change is coming. Change was already coming. And he just felt like life was, his life didn't fit anymore. Like, he didn't fit anymore. And it seems like that's what, like, some of these people feel like things are changing. Like when they talked about Ghost Rider, oh, why are they using this new Ghost Rider? He looks Mexican. Why are they changing the Ghostbusters? Why, and yes, I didn't like Ghostbusters either, but it just sucked, But these people, some of them had to hit on these things, and then you keep seeing them talk about the same things, like, things are changing. And then when you keep hearing this narrative that life is changing, that's where this anger comes from, where they feel like they don't have a place anymore. And that's where anger comes from. Now, move over to what happens when you see some of these riots. They're not even able to live their life, and they have this same kind of anger. And this anger comes out in a manner sometimes where you have two sides. You have the ones that are calm and they realize, hey, we got to do this peacefully. But then you have the ones that they go crazy and they light things on fire. I mean, there's a correlation where some of these people, that's the same thing. You have the calm people who are like, hey, listen, I understand life is changing. I'm kind of upset, but maybe we can work together. And then you have the ones on the forums who go crazy and say all this crazy stuff. Some of these people here just don't understand that, look, you're not going to stop this. It doesn't matter who wins the election. I hope you guys realize this. Doesn't matter who wins the election.
We're still going to have a president. Yeah.
Not only that, but you're going to continue to have, changes in your who's going to show up on television. There's
Mhm.
there's going to be more minorities. There's going to be more rights for gay people. There's going to be it. You're not going to stop that. And if
That's
anyone promises you that that's going to happen, they're lying to you. You're not going to stop progress.
no.
I saw someone say, "Oh, if so and so, if Trump wins, is it going to stop globalization?" No, it's not. You really
No, it's
think
not. That's still gonna happen.
you think you're going to stop that with cell phones and internet? The world's
Yeah.
getting smaller, not larger. Unless a nuclear bomb blows up and everything stops.
Yeah.
Are you kidding?
About to say it's like
So
that old Chris Rock joke. Man, this movie's so good. I'm about to pop a cap off of this motherfucker.
right. I mean, the internet should be an example of what's going on. People are picking up cameras. People are able to make changes. People see everything you do. People record what you do. So if anything, you're not able to hide anymore. And now people are attaching their names. They're attaching their accounts. Yeah, you can make fake accounts, but the point is that it's not so much censorship. It's a matter of using your mind. If you walk outside in the street, you're not saying this stuff. And some people say, "Yeah, I do." No, you don't.
No.
You know why? Because I don't hear that shit said to me. When I
No.
walk down the street, no one says that shit to me.
Nope.
I don't hear any of the stuff I see on the internet
Nope.
said to my face. Ever. No one's ever said that shit to my face. Maybe when I was a little kid, and maybe it's like 4 or 5 of you in a group, maybe somebody would say it from the back. But I walk down the street, no one says any of the stuff I see in the
Oh, yeah. And
on that. So
it's crazy too, because if you sit there and you look at it, look at this other guy that got shot and killed, the one that his car got pulled over. They sat there and they looked at the footage and all that, and they arrested the woman that shot him.
right.
They arrested the cop that shot her. They said, you know what? That guy didn't have a gun. He was cooperating. Guess what? You're going down for first-degree manslaughter. And that was a combination of not only did they review the evidence and say, like, yep, you're at fault, but that was to set an example of, like, hey, if there's any of these people out there that just want to, like, hey, I'm going to just shoot a guy because he's black, blah, 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 blah. Like, they're going to review this stuff and they're going to put people in jail. Like, it ain't going to be like, oh, shit. If I were a cop and I saw that, I'd be like, oh, okay, yeah, they're not. And I even had an inkling in my mind of, like, man, I'm going to pull some black dude over and I'm going to shoot him dead. I'm going to make it sound like, make it look like he was, no, they are reviewing all the footage that they can get. And that's the biggest thing is it's just like people that go crazy on their comments and all that. Like, the article you sent me is the social justice warriors of the Magic tournaments just raising shit just to raise shit.
Yeah.
It's stupid. Like, literally, like, the thing that I love about that article is the guy that wrote it is literally saying, like, Magic has been around for 20 freaking years. I've been playing it for 15 of those 20, and this is the dumbest shit I've ever seen. Like, when you got a person that's been into that culture that much and literally is pointing this out, like, it just goes to show you, it's like, holy crap, there is something going on that is just like, people need to, like, just take a step back, breathe, like, just take a second to chill and realize, like, hey, this is not like something that's gonna, like, blow up to these proportions that they're blowing up to. It's insane.
And let's be clear. Doing any violence for protests is wrong. You should always be peaceful, and destroying property is bad. But let's face it, the media is going to show that because A, it should be shown, and
It's
B,
fucking good ratings.
It's good ratings. But look, here's something to remember when you're watching this. If you watch something like that, and especially if you're a gamer and you think to yourself, look at these people, look at that. And if you have any thoughts of, like, those people, or this is all there is, just remember, whenever they're going to show something about gamers and they show the negative stuff, and then you think to yourself, why are they always showing negative stuff about gamers, not good stuff about gamers? Yeah, that's the same thing about the protesters, because there's a lot of video of protesters. If you go look on YouTube of all the videos of the protesters that weren't doing anything bad, no one wants to see that. Come on, let's face it, guys. Are you gonna watch a YouTube of protesters holding hands, sitting down, or with them just stand there with their hands up, chanting or singing songs? No, you're not gonna watch that for 3, 4, 5, 6 hours.
Dude.
You're gonna watch the guy throwing a bottle. You're gonna watch a guy lighting something on fire, kicking something. So Yes, of course
I'll
there
put
were
it-
people doing stuff that was shitty, but there was a lot more people that were not doing shitty stuff,
Yeah,
and they're only going to show the shitty stuff.
Oh yeah, I was about to say. I remember, like, I want to say it was about a year ago, and I remember there was some crazy shit that here in Massachusetts that people were protesting against. The height of the protest was a dozen people went out to one of like the major roads that connected to a highway and laid themselves out across the highway to stop traffic for an hour. And it was an hour because that's when the cops came in and were like, all right, you've had your hour, boop, and they arrested everybody. But that wasn't a single bottle thrown, single rock thrown. They had their signs. They sat in the road. They said, this is what we're protesting. And the cops came up and they were like, you guys protest? Y'all got an hour to get the fuck off the road. They sat there at an hour and 1 minute. They're like, all right, y'all are going to jail. And that was it.
You know why that don't happen in Miami? Because they would have ran the motherfuckers
Oh, they
over.
would have ran the motherfucker over.
And they'd be like, or like, oh shit, speed
them
bump.
crazy Cuban drivers like, yo, man, I got to get to work, man. Fuck this shit. And they would have run the motherfuckers over. They would have fucking plowed through that shit. That protest that would have lasted a whole 5 minutes. And you're like, shit, I ain't getting to work late. Fuck this.
I think that's why there's the only parades they have in Miami are on Biscayne Boulevard, because that's the only place that the drivers here respect parades. They're like, oh wait, maybe Calle Ocho.
Coyote could get by us. That's one of those things where, like they're
that and Biscayne Boulevard. That's the only two places. Anywhere else, they're like, like, why are these people in the road? Plow them over.
That's because fucking people are like, oh, they doing the parade on Coyote. Fuck it, I go up to Bird Road. It's okay. Like, there's so many other roads around Coyote that you can get around that shit. The same thing with Biscayne.
All right, look. We've been too serious, man. We had to get on the rant. You know, we had to be serious.
Yeah, we've been going on this bitch for about half an hour already. God damn it.
All right. We're gonna have a little fun.
All right,
but
little more wine. All right, we can go.
Oh wait, you're drinking wine out? Is that a measuring cup?
This is a Pyrex, beautiful little like beaker, little mug.
Is that so you can know your alcohol level?
This is so you know exactly how many milligrams or milliliters of wine you are taking in. Wonderful gift from my wife that got given to it at a science convention.
And you're drinking wine out of that.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know that's the male equivalent of drinking wine out of a box?
Hey, don't bash box wine. That shit's good. Some of the best wines they got now are out of boxes, all right?
No, it's true. I actually had some of that box wine. I went over to this lady's house and she was drinking box wine. And I was like, is that stuff good? She's like, here, have a glass. And next thing you know, I was watching The View. I was like, what the fuck is this shit?
Let me tell you, as someone that went to culinary school and shit, like before it was fucking frowned upon to freaking get wine with a twist off cap. And now, like, there's some like monstrous wines that are coming out on twist offs, and they were saying that the biggest reason why they're switching to twist off caps is they're running on a shortage of cork to put the cork into the bottles, because if you have like really good wine, you're going to want natural cork wood, and not enough people are recycling the corks. And the big thing is that they found, because there were vineyards that when twist off caps first started coming out, they actually started testing just to see, because the biggest thing with wine, as you know, is the integrity of how it tastes. And they didn't want anything messing with that. And they found that in the time that they tested out the twist off caps with the cork, the wine tasted just as good and actually didn't degrade in flavor or anything like that compared to the actual cork. So it was actually better than a cork stopper in wine. And on top of that, they said the only reason though that a lot of vineyards still use the cork is because it would cost them way too much money to like switch over to the twist offs. But they're like slowly but surely, there's vineyards that are switching over, and they're doing that just to save the freaking the cork trees.
I could see that the purists would be like, what twist off? I never.
No, I would never drink such a thing. How could you? Oh my God.
So I guess for this story, if you are like a really social justice warrior, you're not gonna like this. But this is the part where I side with the guys on this one, because I just think this is funny. So the schoolgirl zombie hunter. I mean, man, one day I have to go to the Tokyo Game Show, seriously, because these guys have some fun. I
Yeah,
mean,
give it to Japan, baby.
yeah, I mean, look, Japan has some games. I mean, we did a review on that spanking game where you like spank people, and that's like, come on, you have in the arcade they have a game with an ass and you actually smack it. I mean, this is Japan. They gives no fucks, man. So okay, so they have this game where you basically hunt zombies, and there's a great anime, the high school girl zombie hunter, I think it was called, or high school
Oh, I think
zombie
so.
high school
Yeah.
girl or something. I forgot what it's
It's like
called now.
yeah, it's like oh shit, what the hell is it? It's like yeah, Zombies High School something or something like that. But I
Yeah.
remember that it's actually a really good anime too.
Oh
Like,
yeah, it's
it is
fan service
so
like.
oh, it's fan service, but at the same time, like it's got such a good story. All these fucking kids in high school just ripping these zombies apart.
Yeah, you guys got to check it out. Look, I'll find it and I'll get the actual name.
I
And
will say I will say this: anybody that's like a fan of like Resident Evil or any of those type of things, like you have to watch that because it is like it. They have so many nods to like the different zombie genre games and stuff that it's so
yeah,
cool.
it's like Dawn of the Dead, and it's like high school girls, and they're going around fighting in a school, and they're like fighting around their town, and it's like TNA, and it's like it's anime. It's awesome. So
It's almost like Ecotucson, if you ever seen that one. That's that the fighting school one.
oh yes, yeah,
Yeah, Ecotucson.
yeah,
That's
exactly.
it's like the same shit. It's like, oh hey, look, all this TNA. Typical Japanese anime.
So in this game, basically, you play as 5 high school girls trying to survive the zombie apocalypse. So uh, basically there's 50 missions and most of it takes place on the high school grounds. And what happens in this game though is you have these weapons and you go out, and as you get damaged, pieces of your clothing falls off. So it's like, it kind of reminds me of some of those fighting games that do like, so they have like some of these Mugen games where as you fight, pieces of your clothing falls out and you actually have like a special attack that in the end it rips all your clothes. So how this happens is like as your clothes start to rip, you see like the bra and panties and stuff like that. There's no like full nudity, they don't go like that far, but basically you can get all the way down to your skivvies. So but you're still like holding your weapons and stuff like that. And I guess somebody decided, because the Japanese are like, hey, you know what if you don't want to wait that long? So they just made a button that's like, hey, I need to get these clothes off in a hurry, and you press the button, and then kapow, you're down to your Victoria's Secrets.
I think the thing that was interesting, at least in the article, and looking at it, is like the fact that they talk about how like as you go through the levels and all and you lose pieces of clothing, that if you get down to the point where you're just in like your underwear, that the zombies will actually react to that. Like they'll go after that person more, so you can use it as like a tactic to draw them away. And
Yeah.
I was like, dude, that's interesting that they thought that into it. But the fact that like that I laughed hysterically when I'm like, oh, by the way, there's this button that you just go poof and you're freaking you're running around in your underwear. And I was like, now that was some dude that's like, so we know there's people out there that are gonna want to just like skip the whole like zombies. Like he's like, come on, guys. We know that there's people that are just gonna run into the zombies just to have them tear the clothes off, just so they can see these girls do that.
Yeah.
Let's do them a service and just hit one button and poof, it's done. We'll sell more copies of it.
Yeah, because you would think that the zombies, because I'm used to like, well, I try not to. I hope that if there was ever zombies, it wouldn't be like those super fast zombies like 28 Days Later. Because if it is, we're
Fuck
just
that.
we're just fucked. If
Buddy.
it's those zombies,
I'll put it to you this way. If the zombies come like that, now I laugh my ass off because my wife keeps telling me, hey, I should get in shape. And I tell her, you know what? Pear is a shape. So technically I am in shape. But let's face facts. If a zombie apocalypse breaks out and those motherfuckers run, your ass and my ass is on the motherfucking menu. We're fucking dead. Fucking, we're coming back. We're going to choose some motherfuckers because we're the first ones to go. If we all saw Zombieland, you remember what he said. The fatties were the first one to go. we're going down.
And I'm black too, so I mean, I just have like
You're
plus
the dark
50 to
yeah.
death.
I was about to say, you got the dark meat. They're going to keep coming after you first. And then after they kill you, I'm going to sit there and go, you okay? And they're going to dive on my ass.
No, well, in the, what was it, the original Night of the Living Dead, they shoot the black guy and he wasn't a zombie.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that's so fitting, especially for now. So that's probably be me. I'll probably like survive, and then it'll be like, bah! Oh, I should have said spoiler alert, by the way. But man, if you guys haven't seen that by now, oh well.
Yeah, that was like I remember the first time I saw like the original Night of the Living Dead. And it's like, damn, like that. But it's interesting, which all ties this together. Like if you sit there and you think about it, for the time that movie came out, that shit was normal. It's the same shit like when we brought up, like, you know, fucking how many weeks ago was it? The whole thing with like the old school Tom and Jerry cartoons.
Uh-huh.
Like for the time that shit came out, that was all like, okay, it's fine. You know, and it's interesting how, like you say, shit changes. Times are changing.
It's funny. In the North, that was considered a sad ending. In the South, it was a happy ending.
Oh yeah, it was like, holy
they were like, bravo, masterpiece. Birth of
I would have shot that guy at the beginning of the movie. Fucking wait till the end. But it was like that was the thing about that movie. Is like I remember that was a huge controversy because he was like one of the main lead actors in that whole thing.
Yeah, and he was interacting with the white lady and everything. So it was like,
that was almost as controversial as fucking Guess Who's Coming to Dinner with fucking Sidney Poitier.
Yeah, they're like,
you know, that movie had white people sitting in the crowd going, damn, I didn't sign up for this shit.
That was the true horror of the movie.
Yeah.
They're like, fuck the zombies. What's that black guy doing with the white lady?
It's this black guy freaking giving all the orders and shit.
He's got a gun. Oh my God. And they're like turning away. No, I can't watch.
Fucking people almost throwing up in the aisles, be like, no, I can't handle this shit, and walking out. They're like, oh, were the zombies too much? No, it was the black guy with the gun. That's put me over the edge.
They get quotes, most frightening thing ever. I never thought I'd see something like that. They're like, damn, man, those zombies. No, man, black guy.
There's a black dude with a gun. Forget the zombies.
You hear him screaming. They're like, man, they're screaming at the wrong part, sir.
Yeah. Oh, dude. That, like, I saw a wicked documentary, like, off topic, derailed the train. An interesting topic of when they did Day of the Dead. The fucking scenes where they would show the fucking zombies like eating the people, like eating the guts and shit like that. Like they were talking with George A. Romero, and he like talked about how like they actually used like hot dogs and shit like that. So like the people that you see them eating, like they're actually eating the stuff. They made it look like intestines because he wanted to make it like as realistic looking as possible and shit. And he was like, yeah, that was part of like the movie magic, is like we just took a bunch of like hot dogs and shit like that and made it look like real entrails, and like we'd have the people just like digging into this like a dummy that was gutted out and it had a freaking like plastic lining, and they would put like pork and beans and all this shit on the inside to make it simulate blood, and they would freaking pull it out and start eating it and shit.
Well, see, the interesting thing about that is being in film school and like learning about like being on sets and learning about takes is when you learn about like why they either don't use real food or real drink, or if they do, they use very little, is that you often have to do many takes. And it's not always just because someone makes a mistake, but it can be sound, lighting, or just because you need extra camera angles, things like that. So can you imagine you're doing that and you need extra takes? By the time you're like on your 7th, 8th take, you're like, oh, these damn hot dogs. Even if you're just taking little bites, you're like, ah.
I will say this, now that you say that, the funniest shit I've ever seen was watching, if you remember, on Food Network, they had a show with like the chefs called The Best Thing I Ever Ate. And they had an edition where it was the fried food edition. And they had Guy Fieri on. And he talked about how he went down there in Miami to the Puerto Rican restaurant Benny's. And they prepared for him mofongo.
Oh.
So the funny thing is like he's like, you know, when they're filming these things that they show him eating foods, like they normally like he'll eat just a bite of the food just to get his reaction, and then they move on to the next thing. He's like, I've never been to a film site where the the producer had to come and take the food and throw it away because in between takes he was stopping and going back and eating more of the mofongo. He's like, because it was so damn good. So he's like, they do this take, he'd eat another piece of food. He's like, all right, that's great. And then he'd walk over and eat more of the mofongo. And they're like, guy, we need you to stop that shit because, like, we need you to eat all this other food. You know, like you said, if it was more than one take, he had to eat it multiple times. So they were like, they didn't want him running to the point where he was so full that he couldn't eat this other food. So the fucking producer came over and threw the shit away.
It's like taking the dog dish from the dog. Like, here, you can't eat anymore. Dog's like, arr, arr.
It's so fucking funny. But that fucking article was just like, it was funny, and then it made me laugh because I was like, you know, only in Japan would they do fucking some shit like that.
Well, here's the thing. At the end, the picture where you have the actual girls from the Tokyo Game Show.
Oh yeah.
Showing them pulling off the clothes. I mean, really? Yeah. I mean, they demonstrated that by having the girls on stage pull off the uniform to show them in skivvies, and then they have her like doing the hee hee hee. I mean,
yeah.
Seriously? They had to demonstrate that on stage. I mean,
and then they bitched at the damn the booth babes from E3.
I mean, damn. We got to go to Tokyo, man. I mean, seriously. It's one thing enough to just have them up there in uniforms, but then to demonstrate them having their clothes torn off. I mean, these people are truly great.
These motherfuckers
Let's make Japan great again. Wait, they're already great again.
Those motherfuckers know what gamers are looking for.
That's what I'm saying, man. They know what we want.
They're the fucking kings of like, all right, we need to sell copies of games. What we're going to do is we're going to put half-naked women in it, and we're going to put a button that just makes the clothes disappear. I mean, look at the whole fucking controversy over the DOA Extreme Beach Volleyball 3 that never came over here.
Yeah.
It's like...
Meanwhile, in Japan, we have ladies showing us how these buttons work.
And I will admit, that was the dumbest fucking idea for a game, but it fucking sold because they knew what they wanted to sell.
Know your customers.
Yeah, they knew exactly what they wanted to sell. People were like, oh, these people are playing the DOA games because of the women. Let's make a game where you exploit that. Boom. They sold 1 million copies. And that was the whole thing. Like, they knew. Dude, it is the whole, like, it's almost the whole thing is, it is a consistent revenue stream for the company. If you're running a business, the one thing you need is a consistent revenue stream. And you exploit whatever the fuck, no matter how bad it is. And I'm not playing devil's advocate and saying that they should, but it is, you find out exactly how can, it's literally the same thing as World of Warcraft still charging $15 a month for a subscription. Blizzard knows no matter how many players they have, it is a consistent revenue stream for the company. That is what lets them come out with Overwatch. That is what lets them come out with another Diablo game. They need the money to pay the people. That's all that these guys are doing. And they're doing it because they're looking at what sells, what's the popularity thing, what do these people want, and boom, they're hitting it. And off topic, kind of the whole thing, I read a really interesting article that they talked about the whole, like the iPhone 7 as to like this guy that does the reviews for cell phones, that he takes them all apart and all that, and why they took the headphone jack out of the phone. And his point of view, when I sat there and I saw it, I was like, you know what? He makes a good point. And it is because if you look at it, Apple owns the patent for the Lightning port and any accessory that connects to the Lightning port. So what did Apple do by removing the headphone jack? They ensured a consistent revenue stream for the company for anybody that wants to make an accessory. If you sit there and you look at it from a business sense, the smartest shit that was ever done. Whoever the fuck came up with that and they said, okay, you know that fucking guy got a promotion. Same shit as whoever thought of the fucking button to remove the clothes in, that motherfucker's got a corner office now. That motherfucker's got a corner office now because they're like, hey, I know what the fuck will sell us a bunch of copies, but a button that removes the clothes, boop, corner office. That's it.
With doors so that he can enjoy the button so he can take the clothes.
That's it. He fucking got a promotion out of that. Those are the motherfuckers that in companies fucking get promotions. It's the guys that come up with shit that they're like, holy shit, we can sell like 1 million more copies because of this.
So we continue our coverage of Pokemon Go gone wrong. That's what you just call it, Pokemon gone wrong.
There you go. You need to fucking make a moniker with that shit and put it up in the corner. Pokemon gone wrong story.
Yeah. I'm every time I find a new story, every time we find one, we're just going to just keep going with it. Pokemon's going to introduce very soon battles between players. We already got just the general public battling against Pokemon players, and by battling I mean robbery, assault, and battery.
And let me tell you, I saw the video that's linked in that story, and holy fuck, dude, that shit, like, when all went down, like, it's interesting because when you watch the video and you see his stream, it's like people, like, as you would expect, people freak the fuck out because nobody was expecting that to happen. And you can see in the video, like, you can see the dude a good bit away before he comes up behind him and just clocks this streamer. And that shit's, like, scary as fuck because, like, I've read other articles about this, and they talk about how, like, earlier in the night, like, he had been around that same area, but he had been with a group of people. And at this point in the night, he, like everybody else, was like, all right, it's getting late, we're going home. And he's like, oh, I'm gonna go around a little bit more. And that was the shit that got, like, he literally lost like 2 phones out of it and shit. And you can see in the video, like, the dude clocks him, grabs the phone that he was using, grabs the other phone, and just takes off running, and then wipes both phones.
Yeah,
but that shit's crazy.
If you don't know the whole story, basically what happened is a Twitch streamer, Ricky Yenzia, basically was doing a live stream of Pokemon Go, and like Randy was saying, he had friends with him, and earlier in the day he was like going around, he was capturing different Pokemon, and as it got later on, it was just him. And in the video, you actually can see, like, they actually have him like circled. You like see the guy like creeping in the background, and like the guy comes up and like hits him and like takes the stuff, and the guy's actually like savvy enough to come back and like erase the data and stuff like that. And like the people in the Twitch channels, like, holy shit, you like see the people like freaking out,
dude,
and like, what the fuck. And it's like, I mean, there's like, this
shit's real, dude.
Yeah, I mean, there's like muggings going on all over the place, and now we have a video of it. And I mean, the guy had like a covering, like a bandana or something over his face, like a mask thing over his face, but there were like people on, like, witnesses on the scene there too. So I mean, no one's been caught yet, at least not of the article that I saw.
The only fucked up thing about this is the fact that fucking Twitch banned his account or suspended his account due to streaming non-gaming content. Like, the motherfucker got robbed.
Yeah,
how the fuck is that gonna be gaming content?
maybe a Twitch hero banned.
Jesus Christ.
Too soon.
This is why we need to fucking do this shit where we record the things a little bit later, and I fucking have like one, because the drunker I get, the funnier this shit will come out. I'm telling you, this is gonna be the best show ever. It's like, how the fuck? I understand, like, so it's really fucked up what happened. And I mean, you read the article and you understand, like, he was there, blah blah blah, because he was hunting a wild Snorlax, which, me playing Pokemon Go, yes, that is a very hard Pokemon to find. And it is kind of fucked up that this happened to him. But it's like, how the fuck, as a goddamn streaming company, you can be like, well, you weren't streaming any gaming content. It sucks dick that you got robbed, but fuck it, your account's suspended.
I'm sorry, we're not allowed to have you streaming Fight Club on our channel.
That is as if this dude came and smacked him in the head, and he's laying there on the ground, and somebody from Twitch just walked up to him and just kicked him in the balls while he was on the ground. Because, like, oh yeah, you're not streaming gaming content, we're going to kick you in the balls for that. It's fucked up. Like, the only other thing that makes me laugh about this, which I forgot to mention, and now that I think about it to you and I send you it, is I saw this, like, crazy thing along with, like, the YouTube that they were talking about how, like, there's people that have been banned from Twitch, like, AKA the Twitch girls, the freaking the fake gamer girls. A lot of them have switched over to YouTube gaming to stream, and they're letting them stream, and they're sitting there fucking in their like low cut tops just doing the same shit they were doing on Twitch, and they're getting all these people to fucking subscribe to their channels and shit, and they're getting all this revenue. And there was this like dude that fucking did a thing that he's like, you need to stop this shit. They were banned from Twitch for a fucking reason. And it's like, the guy's got a point. These quote unquote fake gamers are freaking exploiting gamers that are guys just to make money. They shouldn't be doing it. If they've got banned from one channel, it's got to make you think, why did they get banned? Why did they take them out?
Hey, I always said I never really understood the whole thing with the beautiful girl coming up to you thing. Like, it's always been like a trope. Like, and I personally never understood it. Like, if like, let's say like this, a really beautiful girl comes up to you and asks you for something that you normally wouldn't give anyone else, and then you're like, sure, I'll do it. And the thinking is that, you know, yourself, like they always talk about, you know, play within your level or your class or whatever you want to call it, in your lane,
within your
right?
league.
So you think by giving up whatever it is, a ride, money, access to something, that you're gonna get with this girl. You know you're not, but you just somehow delusion kicks in, and then you're like, sure, go ahead, cut in front of me, have some money, get a ride. And of course the beautiful lady's like, thanks, and then just walks off, and then you're just like, good.
That is because
What did you get? Not a goddamn thing.
That is the Jim Carrey Dumb and Dumber thinking of, so you're saying there's a chance.
Exactly.
That is the whole thing. That is what people think. And it makes me like, it's so funny, because I remember when we talked about this before, like I knew some of the people that we were talking about, and it's like me being as a gamer and this and that, watching this, and it's like you just watch the channel and you just sit there and have to chuckle and laugh and go, it is so freaking obvious that this one person is just exploiting the shit out of these people. Because it's not like they're kind of hiding it out. No. They are full on, flagrantly just, hey. Like, one of the craziest things is, like, I saw one of these, like, things of, like, the top 10 people that have been banned off of YouTube. This, like, chick that used to play, that would literally wear these, like, low-cut shirts and all that. People would donate, like, a big thing. And you'd literally see her, like, slide her chair back. She'd stand up and do jumping jacks in this, like, skimpy outfit. And it's like, are you effing kidding me that this girl is doing this? Like, and you're going to tell me that she is not exploiting her crowd? Come on.
Hey, they say you need to get exercise every couple of hours. So, you know, she's letting the circulation flow, and circulation's building up in her audience in other places.
Yeah, I was about to say. That's one of those things of like,
or blood flow, I guess I should say.
Her fan base is like, yeah, let me get a little bit of lotion and a freaking tissue. I'll be back in like 5 minutes, you know?
Where are these people getting money to donate, man? I thought gamers were broke.
That's shit that gets me. It's like, yo, they come up with so much shit. Like, I have trouble fucking affording the games I can afford. It's like, get the fuck out of here, dude.
Yeah, where are you people getting this money, guys, to just donate?
You look at, like, some of these people, it's not like they're donating like $1 or $2, but look at these motherfuckers donating $35, $50, $100, you know?
Yeah, I hear about these people like, oh, I got like 5, 6, 7 Kickstarters you know, I'm working on, I'm donating to this and that. I'm like, I'm like, what? And then they're like, yeah, I work at Starbucks. How much is Starbucks paying nowadays? Because like, maybe I need to go work over there, because I don't know what the hell's going on, man.
That's that motherfucker. Did you go to school? Because I'm a fucking debt up to my asshole and fucking in school and student loans and shit. What the fuck? Because that's the thing. Like, I've noticed, like, Kickstarter has blown the fuck up for board game shit. And like let me tell you, these motherfuckers are smart. Because they'll do like, hey, we're coming out with our game. Like, they're literally using Kickstarter as a fucking pre-order service. let's face facts. Like, yes, they're getting their money to produce the game, but they're using it basically as a pre-order service. But the thing that gets me is there's companies out there that, like, I'll have to get, like, one of my favorite game companies out there is Tasty Minstrel Games. These people, I have yet to play a bad game from them. Like, the guy running the company that fucking guy is on point with what he sees, and he says this is going to be a good game, and he backs it, and he sponsors it, and he pays for it. And he's now started doing, like, bringing over games from that only pop up in Europe and Japan and shit. And let me tell you, this fucking guy is brilliant, because they're coming over with this game called Yokohama, which is a phenomenal game. Like, from the videos that I had backed this thing months and months and months ago. But this guy is a genius, because he's doing like, hey, you can sit there and back the game as it is in the box that you get in Japan for this amount of money. But we're going to do a one-time run that if you do it through the Kickstarter, we're going to come out with a deluxe edition. What do you get with the deluxe edition? Oh, those cardboard coins? No, they're going to be metal. Oh, those little cardboard chits that do your resources? No, they're going to be wood and silkscreen. So, like, they do this thing where they basically will tell you, hey, you can only get this copy by doing this here, and we're going to have a couple of extra ones that we're going to sell at conventions. Those motherfuckers are geniuses, because everybody just about every single person that backed that game paid the extra money for the deluxe. Why? Because in the resale market afterwards, if I don't end up liking the game, guess what? I can fucking sell that shit for double the money that I paid for it, because it's going to be so hard to fucking find that game.
Nice.
It's the same shit with old, like my wife today asked me, she's like, why do people like spend the money that they do on old Nintendo games and shit like that? And I told her, I said, it's because the nostalgia factor. You have all these people that were kids that had all these systems, and now they're adults and they want them. And B, what drives the price up is it's a game that people that bought it and said, man, this is a great game, they did not trade it in. Drives the value up. I mean, I fucking went to a place today. I got a couple of old games. I got like the old school Rygar. I got Castlevania 2, and I paid maybe $20, $30. Yeah, no.
Nice.
I got Rygar, Castlevania 2. I got Fester's Quest, which I used to love the shit out of that game, even though it was fucking hard as shit.
Mm-hmm.
And I got, what was the fourth one I got? I got another game that I can't remember right now. It's sitting in my living room. But the guy had a fucking copy in the box of the original Final Fantasy. That motherfucker was selling that shit for $100. And I'm like, you can get easily $100 for that thing, because of the fact that how rare it is to get that fucking thing. It is one of those games that, like, everybody that bought the old school fucking the old school Final Fantasy held on to that shit. And it was just like, I saw it, and then like the guy told me the story of how he came across that, because he had a bunch of, he had like Final Fantasy 1 for $100 and the original Mega Man for $100. And I'm like looking at this, he's like, yeah, like I got a good shipment in like a couple of days ago. He basically told me, he's like, there's this guy that works for this company that we have up here in Massachusetts called Savers. And it's basically like a thrift store that you can go to. It's just corporately owned. And he says the guy that traded this stuff in, he says apparently at his job, they told him, hey, throw this box out. It's just stuff that like we can't resell. The guy picks up the box, starts walking out. It's a closed box. He's like, yo, this shit weighed a ton. So he's like, man, what the fuck is making this thing weigh so much? He put the box down and opened it up. Inside the box was a top-loading Nintendo, which those motherfuckers are really rare to get, and something like 40 or 50 Nintendo games. Of the 40 or 50 games, it had the original Final Fantasy in it, and it had the original Mega Man in. He's like, this motherfucker was like, oh shit, they're throwing this out. Guess what? It's getting thrown out to the fucking trunk of my car. He took it to this place and traded it in. He's like, I gave that dude $400 cash for all the stuff that he had. That dude's going to double his money, what he paid for that fucking, for the system and all those games. And I was just like, bro, some people are so lucky in this world. Like $400 cash.
Well, speaking of unlucky, we're going to segue into our Florida story. because we're almost out of time. But we can't leave without our new segment where we talk about some of the dumb stuff that goes down here in Florida.
You know some motherfucker's gonna call. You know that shit. You
Yeah.
know it. There's gonna
Yeah.
be some dumbass going, oh fuck, I gotta call.
But so this one has to do with missing pot. Because they're trying to legalize marijuana here. They want to be like in Colorado and Seattle.
Shit, up here too. It's going on the bill. This fucking in November, what is it, 9th or whatever it is? This goes.
Yeah, they're trying to do it down here too. So maybe I'll get people come out to vote, extra people that normally wouldn't.
So up here to legalize it. They need
down
to just
here,
do,
down here in Florida, officers are hoping to weed out a trailblazer while walking his dog on a trail. An off-duty deputy found 16 cannabis plants. Officers report in Jacksonville. Knowing somebody will wonder what happened to the pot plants, concerned cops reached out to the owner and left a note on the path that reads, "We have your weed. Call 911 to identify and claim it. Thanks, GPD." According to the Gainesville Police Department. Get it while you can. Now, for people that don't know, Gainesville is where we have the college, one of our college towns down here. So, I mean, that's not really surprising to think that someone in Gainesville would find a nice little path to grow some pot, even though it probably, since there was only a couple of, 16 cannabis plants. I mean, I guess that could be a personal stash, but someone probably could be selling it a little bit to their friends and stuff too at the local college. But I think that's funny that someone actually put a little sign. They actually showed the person write it out on looks like a paper bag. I don't know if someone's going to come and claim that, but I think that was pretty funny that the cops decided to leave a little note for somebody.
This is crazy.
But actually, that's pretty popular. People mixing in pot plants with regular plants, especially out here. You'll have like a wide area of just greenery, and next thing you know, you'll be like, "Hey, look, some pot."
Like it honestly makes me think like, well, then again, with the amount of plants that it was, it's almost like somebody kind of like threw that in there. But like, what's funny is shit. Like I remember when my wife was going to school. Apparently she's like, yeah, apparently the security's up in an uproar or whatever. Apparently they found a couple pot plants like behind one of like the buildings and all that. And I'm like, that's probably somebody that was just like cleaning out their buds and they dropped a couple seeds and they're like, fuck it, let it grow and see what happens. And they were probably hoping like, hey, maybe we'll come back and there'll actually be some buds we can take some out and keep them.
Yeah, if it's like directly behind like a building or something, I would say that that's probably an accident. I don't think so. Well, I don't know. People are pretty stupid.
Let me tell you, if there was something that was funny as shit, I remember a good friend of mine that his brother was a freaking like huge pothead. And what's hilarious is they used to have in the back of their house, like they had a plant in a pot that died. So literally all that was in this pot, like the pot stayed outside and it just had dirt in it. And one night his brother like went out and was like cleaning out his buds and just dropped a couple seeds in there, like, whatever, it's probably not going to become to nothing. And like months later, fucking 3 plants started growing. And what was funny as shit is his fucking grandmother like, oh, look, something's actually growing in the freaking pot. We thought it was all dead. I was about getting ready to throw this shit. And she would water the motherfuckers. And my friend was like, yo, y'all, you need to move that shit because grandma's going to eventually figure out, like, mom and dad are going to figure out what the fuck is growing in this thing. Because it was funny because he found out, because he like went outside into the backyard and his grandmother was like, oh yeah, look, something's growing. He like looked at it and saw the leaf right away and he's like, oh shit,
it's a Christmas miracle.
You know, he's like, we gonna get in trouble for this shit.
I also have my picture of the day. I picked up this sweet poster, so I'm gonna show it to y'all. That.
Oh, the Killing Joke, nice.
Yeah, my Killing Joke poster. It's so pretty. Look at that.
Yeah,
Oh,
cool.
yeah. I love it. So that's my picture of the day.
I heard that shit wasn't the animated one wasn't as good as the original story, but you know what? Let me tell you, I'm gonna go into that thing and watch it the same way I did Batman v Superman. Because I heard it was horrific and I started to watch it. And other than the fact that the whole fight ended with Superman telling, spoiler alert, Batman, oh, or Batman telling Superman, like, or whatever the hell it was, is that, oh, that his mom's name was Martha and that's what they bonded over. That was bullshit. But everything leading up to that wasn't that bad. And they did like stay pretty close to like one of the comics and all that with it. And I found it really interesting. But then when that came out, I'm like, oh, now I see why people were fucking pissed off. And then Doomsday came out, and then I was like, oh, now I really see why people are upset with this.
I think that with the the cartoon version, I think they did a really good job. Like
I want to
originally
see it.
when they showed the artwork, people were like, "Oh, the artwork looks bad," and then I saw it, and it actually was not as bad as they originally showed the artwork. And story wise, yeah, they made some changes, but not a lot where it's gonna anger people. Yes, I read the original. Yes, it's a little bit different than original, but unless you're like super hardcore traditional, where you're like it has to
Yeah.
be exact, you're not gonna hate it. I mean, they
Yeah,
put a lot there. They just edited a few things.
I
But
heard the big thing which was the thing that people were really pissed off at, was the whole Batgirl Batman thing that they put in. That everyone was
oh
like,
yeah,
no. But for me, when I found out this, I was like, dude, I don't care what people say. This is going to be great. Kevin Conroy as Batman and Mark Hamill as the Joker. As soon as I heard that, I'm like, oh, it doesn't matter how good or bad this is. This shit's going to be crazy. Because
see, I think the reason why they did that was I think they're trying to tie it in to the fact that they ended up having a relationship. Like I think that's why. Like I think that when they originally wrote that, that wasn't part of any storyline. Like, see, that's the thing. I'm trying to remember the history now. I don't remember when they redid it where they ended up having a relationship. And I think when Killing Joke came out, there was never any relationship between Batman.
there was never any relationship or anything like that
Yeah,
between
so I think they reconned it so that that's where it started.
Yeah. But that was
So,
like,
you know.
it's like I just saw a video of like the 10 worst things that Joker ever did, and it's like in the comics type of thing. And man, like, it was mostly comics, but it did have some of the movie stuff which wasn't really comic canon. And the one that I fucking like, when I sat there and I saw it, I was like, damn, that's fucked up. It was after they kind of did the New 52, where they had the one Joker where he had his like face kind of like stretched on. It was like somebody else's face, where he fucking literally took everybody that was close to Batman, kidnapped them all, then brainwashed fucking Alfred. And when Batman came to, he's literally sitting there, and all his people that he loves, all his closest people, are sitting there with bandages on their faces. And literally, a brainwashed Alfred comes and literally brings to each of the freaking the family members and all that that's still alive their own faces, and makes them eat their own faces. And when I saw that, I'm like, what the fuck did these fucking people at DC do with the New 52? I'm like, they done fucking gone crazy. And I was just like, holy shit. Which, in watching that Batman v Superman, the only thing I've sat there like I came to the conclusion is, god damn it, DC, seriously, if you want to like step up your game and take on Marvel when it comes to the movies, you need to get these fucking people that are doing the TV shows, have these motherfuckers start doing movies. Because when it comes to TV shows, bro, DC has got it on point. Their fucking Flash show is amazing. The Gotham series, another one that, granted, it's fucking non-fodder, but holy shit, it's a good show.
Oh, but you want to know what's really sad? So I was watching the Telltale Batman. I was just watching like one of the people who played like what they consider the best way to play the series. So I was watching episode 1 and episode 2. And I was watching it, and I was thinking to myself, there's no reason why you can't have a Batman series.
You can't. There's no reason
Like,
why.
there really isn't. Because I was watching this, and I'm like, this is limited acting, obviously, because, no matter how good technology is, just the way it's done, you can't get that much acting out of animation. I mean, the voice acting's, really good.
Mm-hmm.
But there's just so much you can do, and there's not even that much Batman really in it. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, like, if you really think about it, a lot of it is Wayne. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
thinking to myself, wow, this is compelling. Like, I'm sitting there watching, and I think it was a total of 2 hours, about 3 hours, a little more than 3 hours that I watched out of episode 1 and 2. And I'm thinking to myself, I like Gotham, but this is better than Gotham.
Yeah.
And I'm
Dude.
thinking to myself, there's no reason they can't make a Batman show. And you know what? You wouldn't even have to have that much Batman. Like, if it was because of money, you wouldn't even have to do. Because I was thinking about it. I was like, okay, maybe it would be expensive to have him grappling all over the city. I'm thinking to myself, you know what? In the Telltale series, they didn't even show him grappling through the city that much. I
Mm-mm.
was like, they didn't. I'm like, how many special effects did they really use in Telltale that would cost a lot of money? And I'm like, there's no excuse. Like, you could have a Batman series.
And that's the thing is, like, Telltale was the studio to like flesh out a fucking story out of that. Like, literally, if you look at all the stuff that they've done, they like. I will still say to this day, the 2 Walking Dead games that they came out with, holy fucking shit. I remember playing the first one all the way through, and when you get to the end of that game, that you have to make that like final decision, I was like literally sitting there going, holy shit. These motherfuckers, the people that they got to write this is unfucking believable. And the other thing in the Walking Dead series, that when I sat there and I saw it, and mind you, I had never really read the source material. I had been watching the TV show and everything like that. But that moment in the game where they come to the realization that, hey, everybody's already infected. It doesn't matter how you die, you come back. That dude, I was literally sitting there and I must have been like, because when I saw that, I was just sitting there like mouth wide open, just, oh shit. Because I didn't know that. And when I found that out, and you see everybody in the game like, oh fuck, that was like one of those freaking like peak moments that you're just like, it left me fucking flabbergasted. Like, oh, that fucking explains so much, you know? And then in the game, they explain how like the way that we found out was like there was a whole bunch of kids and we were all like we separated the kids and put them in a fucking room so that they wouldn't get attacked by the zombies if they broke into the school. And then a girl committed suicide and she turned and fucking killed everybody in the room except for one kid. And I was just like, dude, that's fucked up. But at the same time, it is the coolest fucking bit of story writing I've ever seen. Like, that shit's crazy.
So I have one more question, then we'll depart. Have you followed any of the new Star Trek? The TV show.
The TV show? There's a new there's a new Star Trek show?
Oh yeah, there's gonna be a new one.
Well, I know they talked about they're coming out with one.
Yeah, it's supposed to be coming out 2017, like the beginning of 2017.
It's
And
the
it
Discovery,
was,
right?
yeah, it was really weird because they just showed like the symbol, but then they showed like, apparently from Comic-Con, they showed like what the shit would look like, and holy cow, people started shitting all over it because it looks like the old Klingon like destroyer mixed with like Enterprise head. And not only that, the CGI that they used look like shit. Like, it looks worse than something you'd see like on like an old game. And like, if you go look at it on YouTube, like, it had more downvotes, I think, than upvotes. And it's like, I don't know. Like, people been waiting so long, and it's like, after you see the movies, like, even though some people didn't like some of the later movies. At least the first one, people, were like half and half. Of course, people didn't like the whole recon and changing of the timeline.
Mm-hmm.
But at least it's like they thought maybe with the TV show they could bring back something, and I don't know.
I don't know. I liked the whole like kind of like them rebooting the series, but the way that they rebooted it was like they changed the whole timeline. Like I think that was honestly like a good way of like tilting the nod of like, hey, like we respect what everything happened in the old one, but we're gonna flip it all around. And I thought like they did a good job. Like the only thing I liked about the new whole Star Wars thing or Star Trek thing was the whole like when the second movie was coming out, and everyone's like, oh, who's Cumberbatch playing? Who's Cumberbatch playing? And like all the like old school is like he's fucking Khan, and everyone's like, no, he's not Khan. It's like he's fucking Khan. And then when they revealed it, you had all those people were like, I fucking knew it. Like they were like, I knew it. I told you it was Khan. And that was the thing. Like it was expected. You can never get to the Mr. Montalban being Khan with that fucking fake chest piece that he wore. Like dude, I still will say to this day, probably like Star Trek II Wrath of Khan was probably of the original series movies was the best one. Just in like all the shit that happens, how cheesy it fucking was, how him with his fucking Mr. Fantasy Island fucking doing playing this like this thing, and then like when Cumberbatch did it, it was just like it's fucking Khan. Like everybody knew. But
Well, see, the thing with the new Star Trek, there was like I didn't read really there really isn't anything that I saw specific on it. Like you see some people talking about what they think it is and stuff like that, speculation. It's on CBS, so I don't know. I don't really have high hopes for broadcast television anymore.
yeah,
I honestly think that a Game of Thrones type approach is probably the best thing for Star Trek. Because like I know that everyone thinks nostalgia, but you're going to ruin the nostalgia because broadcast television doesn't seem to be able to do nostalgia, especially in sci-fi. They tried it with Enterprise, and I just think they're going to ruin it again because you're going to get people who think that they understand it, but they're going to ruin it.
I
And my thing is like, don't try that, because like what I kind of liked about like Deep Space Nine, like people thought that it was just the dark or it was just the war. It wasn't just that. Like there were some aspects of that was cool, but I like the fact that you actually saw things going on, like what was it like going on in Cardassia? Even the Ferengi stuff, which sometimes was goofy, but it was like sometimes you'd find out what it was like to be in the Ferengi world, what was it like to be on the Bajoran world, what was it like to be with the Klingons, what was it like to be, with this group, and it was like a micro version of like different storylines that you would see in a Game of Thrones. I think that the kind of world that was building in the Star Trek world, you could actually have something interesting. I mean, you could still primarily focus on a ship, but the fact that you had all these different things going on, if you make it rich, you would want to know, like, hey, what's going on Romulus? You could spend 2-3 episodes on Romulus, and then Klingon. You could spend a week in like some crazy shit going on in Klingon homeworld, then back to the Federation, and then introduce brand new people and spend maybe an episode here, and then it crosses over with different factions. That would be more. And then if you ever want to come out with other, you should separate the two. I don't think you should try anything because they're gonna fail at. Keep the movie separate, and then do a Game of Thrones thing where you have all these different all these different things that we know. It doesn't have to be like Next Generation. You can start new, but I'm just saying jump around so we can learn about all these different cultures instead of just doing, let's put it in between these two, because that's what they're saying. It's supposed to be in between, I think, the Next Generation and the original series, and it's like, you're gonna ruin it, just like you do with Enterprise. You're gonna ruin it, and then super fans are gonna be like, look, you messed up this timeline, you messed up this, you messed up that, and
that's the thing is like that's I think what made Next Generation so great is they put it so far ahead time wise that it was like they could do pretty much whatever they, it was like rebooting the series, but they really weren't rebooting the series. They were just like, hey, this is what has happened thanks to all the stuff that they did in the past. So it was a whole new idea. And that was the thing, like if you, like you said, like the non-centered around the ship, like Deep Space Nine, they didn't have the fucking ship until really like what, second, third season. They didn't really start going crazy with the ship.
Until
You know,
third season,
yeah,
they
it
didn't
was
get
like third
the
season
flying.
that they, yeah, they like, oh look, we got a ship that we can use, and then they really didn't like start focusing more on the ship. So probably the fourth season, you know, like the ship was like, hey, just in case we need it, and then like they did more and more. But I think like Deep Space Nine, I agree with you, is probably like one of those series that it does not get as much love as it should because they sat there and they like you said, they showed the space station in the middle of a war of like, hey, this is what they have to deal with, especially where they were. You know, like, hey, the Federation had the space station here just to monitor what the fuck was coming in and out of this wormhole, you know, as you would do in the middle of a war. And I mean, like I loved, so I rank it as, I think best series ever for me was Next Generation. I would then give it probably a tie between Deep Space Nine and Voyager, and then the original series. I loved Voyager. Like I thought what they did with Voyager was really interesting, but granted, like I see the, like what people call as like, oh, it's bullshit, where oh, they just fucking got bumped off into the Delta Quadrant, and then it was just like, you know, oh, every week's gonna be like them making it home and then discovering this new species and blah blah blah, blah, which it did. But I mean, when you watch the complete long run of the series, just the whole thing of like the hologram doctor wanting to be able to move around the ship because, you know, they had him on for so long and blah blah blah, and he became one of the crew. And then like they started with the Borg, which everybody knew they were going to do because you had to, because they were the most popular enemy in Next Generation, and the whole Seven of Nine series. And like it was just really interesting, and I like the fact that especially with Voyager that they gave them that opportunity to wrap the whole story up of like, hey, they made it home, which everybody knew that's a fucking what the end of the, like everybody knew when they were watching that show, like watch, they're gonna end the show that they're gonna make it home, and everybody knew that was gonna happen. But like the way that they did it, I thought was like really well written, where they came in contact with a future version of themselves and blah blah blah.
But I
And
think
all.
that people also kind of didn't even think back then about how interesting it was that for a brief moment you had these shows really connecting to each other, which
Oh
now,
yeah,
you know, you're used to having these connecting,
the
expanding
continuity.
storylines.
Yeah.
You're right, but back then you didn't. You know,
Mm-hmm.
you think about it, you had the beginnings of like the Kardashian Bajoran conflict starting in TNG when Ensign Rowe came on
Mm-hmm.
TNG. That was so that we got used to Bajor and Cardassians. That's why you had those Cardassian episodes. So
Mm-hmm.
we got used to Cardassians and what was going on. And I didn't know that at the time. When they showed up, I was like, oh, cool. But when you go back and watch it, you see them start to teach you about the conflict. And when she talks about the conflict, then all of a sudden you start watching Deep Space Nine, and then you're like, oh, that's why, you know, Ensign Rose really talking. And you see the episodes towards the very end in season 7 with the
Mm-hmm.
conflict where Ensign Rose, like when she turns against the Deep Space, I mean against Enterprise and joins the Maquis. Now you're like, oh, now that leads you into it. And then
Mm-hmm.
even with Voyager, like when they get connection with the array that lets them talk, you hear about the Dominion War, and you're like, and they talk about how all the members of the Maquis were killed on the when the Cardassians teamed up with the Dominion, and they wiped out everyone that was on the Cardassian border. And it's
Mm-hmm.
like, you know, those stories, that's what I thought made it extra rich, when you could
Yeah.
have all these stories all in the same universe. I think that's what you need for a show to succeed now. If they launch this new show and it's just like, oh, here's a new ship, we're flying around, this and that. Yes, people will watch it because they're craving some Star Trek, but it's going to end up being, you know, it's going to be more disappointment than, you know, fanfare.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like I like the only thing with Enterprise, like I remember I watched it for a bit and I'm like, yeah, this is petering off way too quickly. But like the whole freaking like the first time that they used the transporter on a person was kind of interesting in that sense of like, yeah, it makes you wonder when did they decide like let's try transporting people, you know? And that was kind of like I'm like, all right, that's interesting, but like you said, like it's they tried to like bring that nostalgia, and it was just like, no, you can't do that shit. Like you got to think about it this way also is like think about the people that are going to be watching this show now. It's all millennials. Nobody saw the original series. Nobody
Yeah.
saw the next generation. Nobody's going to know what's going on.
Yeah, and no one's like, hey, I really want to know what happened between the TOS and TNG. I mean,
Right.
and the people who do remember are not going to be happy because you're not going to do it justice. So you please
Right.
nobody.
Yeah.
And I don't know why they continue to do this kind of stuff. I don't get it. You should just go far enough into the future. I mean, even if you do another alternate timeline or another dimension or something like that, yes, you'll get some people that'll be upset that you did that, but you'll at least be safer because you can start anew, and then you're not pissing anyone else. Like with at least with Gotham, yes, you have people that are mad because they're like, it's not Batman, but at least you could tell people it's an Elseworld, it's not your timeline, so we're not messing up your timeline, and
Right.
that will take some time because people are really dumb and don't get that. Like I'm really tired of explaining to people that there are these things in comic books for a long fucking time called Elseworlds, and that is what like they think that Gotham is in the past. It's not in the past, you
Right.
fucks. It's an Elseworld.
And that's
It's
the
not
big
in the
thing.
past.
And that's the big thing with that show. It's
Jesus
like
Christ.
they're introducing every single one of the major criminals that Batman first meets in the future. And it's like people are like, oh, they can't be like that. It's like, hello, remember, it is called the New 52 for a reason. And I apparently had heard that the big thing the reasoning why for the Justice League movie that they cast somebody else's Flash instead of bringing the kid that plays the Flash in the TV show was like the rumor was like, the big thing was is the director was like, yeah, like he wasn't the actor that I could see playing my version of Flash, which is true. But at the same time, they kind of like got from the guy that's like the head of everything, like he kind of hinted at like, well, we might see the whole like alternate universe thing, which they've already kind of like positioned in the storyline in the writings of the Flash TV show, because you've already seen alternate timelines in it with the reverse Flash and all that. And they're saying like, hey, we might bring this to the screen. And then everybody just went, ooh, that'd be cool. Which is
and not only that, you already saw it when he put on I forgot the name of the device that he put on that clamped to him. When he ran through the hole, you saw how did he visit Supergirl? Supergirl was in another dimension anyway. I mean, the fact that when he went to go get Wells, the other Wells, that was your clue right there. Yeah. So Wells was in Earth 2. Supergirl, you don't know what Earth she's in, but that's another one anyway where Superman is.
Right.
And that's not even the same Superman that's in the movie. So they already told you that that's different. So if anything, Gotham is in another one of those. So that's what we're trying to tell like the people who like are like, wait, this is not that. No, that's another world. That's another dimension. So that's not the same dimension that Batman's on. It's a different dimension.
It's one of those things that they could just as easily just in one foul swoop just do the whole like boop and then like just come out with new movies for Batman and Flash, like all the different ones and be like, yeah, all that shit that we did before, guess what? Alternate universes, and it could be them playing their long game,
Yeah, or they could do a mini Infinity Crisis where not necessarily all those guys show up, but for all you know, the Barry from the TV show could show up for a quick second in the movie, do something, and then be like, "Oh, I'm fading away, or I don't have enough energy to stay here," and then leave.
Yep.
I mean, with alternate dimensions, you could easily do that kind of stuff. So.
Yep.
Well, we could continue this all day, but
yeah, I know. I was about to say,
longest running shows.
So much for we'll do this in half hour, 45 minutes.
Hey, well, what happened is we started on such a hardcore, rant / serious mode that we had to end it with some light stuff. Or
keep going, yeah. Is that one of those like we got serious?
That's right. That's right. But it's all right. You know how we do it. We start with the serious stuff, get with some funny stuff. Get into some comic book stuff. We branching out here, man. We got something for everybody.
Gotta keep spreading our wings, rebooting the show, do whatever the fuck we can, keep getting them hits.
That's right, man. That's right. So we're gonna be back with another show very, very soon. Hope you guys enjoyed this. I know y'all enjoy it, cause we got something for everybody. You like it. You like some parts, don't like other parts. That's okay. That's what the fast forward button's for.
That's right, damn it. Skip it. We'll still get ad revenue, motherfuckers.
That's right. All right, we'll be back very soon. Hope you liked the show. If you got offended, guess what? You didn't get the show. All right, until next time. Peace out.
Peace.